Dumbledore is not a good guy.
And we were definitely not flipping you off either.
Well, leave that to the origin story episode.
Oh, yes.
We'll get all of our death threats out there.
Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
He's not only got a yacht, he's got a bicycle.
Doughnut Revenge.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a donut.
And we're back.
We are back with Doughnut Revenge.
Donuts back with vengeance.
That's right.
Be honest here. Who thought we were going to quit after our first podcast?
Well,
Show of hands. Trick question. We can't see your hands.
You can't see ours either. We were not raising them.
And we were definitely not flipping you off either.
I wasn't. Maybe you were, but I wasn't.
A good director never flips off the audience.
That's right. Write that on your tombstone.
Well, you'll never know because you're going to die before me.
No, absolutely not.
Yes, you will. I'll see to it.
Well, leave that to the origin story episode.
Oh, yes.
We'll get all of our death threats out there.
Origin story. You're going to find out where the great rivalry began. But that's not today.
And why we're called Doughnut Revenge.
And why we're called Doughnut Revenge. But that's not going to happen today. You got to keep listening to get that chewy morsel of gold right there.
That's right. A chewy morsel of gold? Is gold chewy?
Yes, that's why people bite it, to see if it's real gold. Like
yeah, to test if it's not chewy.
Anyway.
If it is chewy, you've got some bad gold. I don't know what the shelf life of gold is, but it shouldn't be chewy.
Well, you know, there are people who put gold dust in their food.
Yeah, that's a different thing. That's like a spice.
I mean, if there's gold dust in your, chewy gummy worms, then it's chewy.
So you want gold gummy worms, is what you're saying?
Yes. It enhances the sourness. But today we are having our spoiler review of The Lion King.
That's right. We're still here. We're still emotional about The Lion King, and we still have thoughts to present to you.
Mufasa. Oh, wait, you already knew about that.
We all knew that was coming, but we were all upset about it.
Real quick, before we dive into it, Comic-Con is currently in play, and there's just exciting news coming right and left. How many fans of Supernatural are listening?
Probably a lot, because Supernatural has, 75 seasons now?
Close, 45.
Who among us has not seen a single episode of Supernatural?
Me.
I feel like I should take the mic from this one, but that's okay.
Don't judge me. Don't judge me. But they did have the panel today to discuss the 15th and final season of Supernatural.
Finally ending it?
That's what they're saying.
What will Jared and Jensen do now?
You know what? I think it's going to be like I think it's going to be like American Idol, where they said this is our last season and they really just meant we're going to take a year off.
And then we're going to come back with like the prequel series,
yes,
or the epilogue series, or the spin-off of something.
They're going to have a sequel series where they hand the baton off to the next generation.
And we'll just keep going.
And in each episode, one of the original cast members dies.
Oh, I don't like that. They've already died so many times.
Exactly. I mean, they'll just keep coming back.
Oh.
In other news, NASA has finally announced Project Artemis. Finally, now that it's been 50 years since the last time we went to the moon, for those of you who haven't been following
NASA's been slacking.
Slacking.
Probably protecting... No, just kidding. I was going to say protecting Area 51, but that's not NASA's division.
No, the meme got that out
that's
quick.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, Project Artemis is NASA's plan to start a actual permanent colony on the moon. Now, there are different speculations as to whether this will be a mining operation, a observatory operation.
A celebrity resort.
I say they should make it public.
Like a beach.
Yes. And anyone who has anyone who is willing to pay $10 million can go.
They're saving your pennies.
And then there's a lottery for those of us who can't afford $10 million.
Oh, like Hamilton.
Yes. And every year somebody gets to go to the moon.
One a year. They do at least one a day for Hamilton.
Okay, well...
We're going to have to get Lin-Manuel Miranda to champion our cause.
The moon is not Hamilton, okay?
I guess you'd have to, quit your job and sell all your stuff, because you would... When would you get back? We don't know.
I don't know, 6-month trip? Or 6 week?
6 weeks? There and back?
I think 6 weeks is enough time to spend on the moon.
We'll get back to you on how much time you need on the moon. we'll become a travel podcast by then.
None of that is actual factual, though. I should say.
No, sorry, we're just
not as factual as the spoilers that are in this review coming up.
That's right.
But first of all,
since we all love Mufasa, we thought we'd share some stories about our dads because we love our dads.
My dad used to yell at me. Shocker there, because I used to get in trouble. But
also shocker.
No, I was a good kid.
Yeah, all right.
Honest. Mm-hmm. No, but my favorite thing was that my dad is just a really funny guy, and he is always telling jokes. He can't not tell jokes. Like, there's a pun or a weird irony or something that he pulls out of every sentence. And he would do this even when he was disciplining me. So I'd be sitting there, like, trying to be like, okay, I'm in trouble. I'm just going to take it. I'm going to,
accept my fate.
Learn my lesson. My dad's shouting at me, and all of a sudden he says something, like, super funny. And I have to laugh.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying not to laugh. He says it like once, he says it twice, and then, I think in one instance I was climbing a bookshelf for the second time, and it broke for the second time, and I caused the bookshelf and all the books on it to spread all across the floor for the second time. And he said,
tell the people what he said.
Oh, I can't.
Just breathe.
He was like, what, did you think you were King Kong? And that was like the third joke in a row that he made, so I had to laugh.
That's funny. My dad wasn't the one. My dad is funny, but like my dad wasn't the one who would say funny stuff like that in situations of discipline. That was me. So if you've seen the Disney Robin Hood film, the animated one where they're foxes.
Oh, they better make a live action remake of that.
I want them to still be foxes, though.
Yes.
But they have a line where the sheriff of Nottingham goes up to Friar Tuck and he shakes his finger in his face and he goes, "You're going to preach yourself right into a hangman's noose." And young me was being disciplined for something. I don't even remember what, but I had done something, and my dad is sitting there being stern-faced and trying to teach me a lesson, and I look up at him, and I'm probably like 4 years old, and I look up at him, and I go, "You're gonna preach yourself right into a hangman's noose," shaking my little baby finger and everything. And my mom had to leave the room. The moment for teaching was over. My dad just looked at me and was like, what? And he couldn't continue.
I bet he didn't even remember what he was yelling at you for.
Probably not. He was so shocked that I told him he was going to preach himself right into a hangman's noose.
Man, I wish I thought of that.
Might have gotten you out of some trouble.
Or put me in more.
To each his
50-50.
It's to each dad their own.
Lauren was a risk taker.
A risk taker and a heartbreaker. That's what they call me.
You're not here... Let's be honest. You're not here to hear about our childhood experiences with our dad. You're here to hear about Simba's childhood experience with his dad. All right, let it begin.
That's right.
Spoiler alert. We are beginning our spoiler review of The Lion King. And the first thing we've got to say, be our guest.
That's right. Be our guest, because you can't dress and drag and do a hula.
Yes, they cut the hula scene.
We were all sad, but we all knew that it was possibly a thing that was going to happen.
And replaced it with
something better.
Better? I'm not sure I liked it, actually.
What? All right.
So Simba says, so Timon goes, "What's the plan?" And Simba goes, "Live bait." And Pumbaa goes, "Why is everyone looking at me?"
Pumbaa goes, "That's a great idea. We just need to find somebody plump and juicy." And he goes, "Why are you all looking at me?"
And we cut to the hyenas on the field. Timon and Pumbaa are there.
Yep.
And
Pumbaa's lying on the ground, like splayed out. And he's like presenting himself. Kind of like, the pig with the apple in his mouth at a dinner.
And Timon starts singing "Be Our Guest" from Beauty and the Beast. And at the moment, it caught me by surprise. I was like, okay, well, this isn't dressing and drag and doing the hula.
It worked, though.
I don't know. Just
Well, I mean, it worked in the plot. It accomplished the goal.
It accomplished the goal.
But I'll tell you, when I heard them sing Be Our Guest, my first thought was, you can't do that. That's copyrighted. And then I thought a second later, I was like, no, it's Disney's song. They can do whatever they want with it. They own that song.
They own it. It's like how they put There Are No Strings on Me in the Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. They can do that. That's their material. They can put it wherever they want.
They can put it wherever they want.
It sounds pretty bad out of context.
Okay, so the opening song, I loved it because it was almost shot for shot the original opening sequence to the movie.
It was really good.
But live action, and it was where you kind of realized, oh, this is what this would look like if it was real, which is what I spent my whole childhood wondering, and now I know. And I like that they had some minor deviations from the original. Like, it wasn't 100% shot for shot. Like, the pacing was a little different.
But there was one letdown.
Oh, yeah. Lay it on us. Lay it on us. Let them know.
You know when they hold Simba up and everybody bows to him and it's like, wow, he's the king. Or well, he's going to be the king. He's the titular character. He's the Lion King. They don't bow. They just all get really crazy and excited. The giraffes are jumping up and down and the elephants are stomping their feet and that's it. I mean, it's kind of a party, but we missed the bowing.
There is no bowing.
We missed the regal atmosphere of that.
Honestly, I felt like the scene still worked without it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch it and I wasn't immediately turned off by it. It was something we noticed after the fact that we were like, we kind of missed that.
Okay, here's one that I know a lot of fans are probably wondering is how did they handle the songs? Because there are some pretty elaborate musical numbers in the original movie that wouldn't work in a real-life savannah. Mm-hmm. And pretty much this whole movie looks like it could work on a real-life savannah. And basically, I think the perfect example was Can't Wait to Be King. Because the way they handled it was, they're singing while they're doing stuff, while they're trying to avoid Zazu and while the animals...
I would classify it as a musical number.
Yes, but everything that happened in that sequence would have happened whether they were singing or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they just happened to be singing. And I was like, wow, this is great. This is a good compromise. The song is there for those who wanted to hear the song. And for those who just wanted to move along and keep with the story. Everything that's here is part of the story. And it's, they just kind of sped up the song. Mm-hmm. Which gave room for a lot of character development. Yeah. And, they only added like 28 minutes to this from the original movie runtime. And it feels so much longer. It feels like
it really does.
It feels like they spent a lot more time developing the world and the characters. Mm-hmm.
They get into some socio-political, economical stuff, which I think is really cool because a lot of the people who are coming to see this are also people who watched the 94 version and that was their childhood. Like us, we're coming in with like, oh man, this is what I was growing up with. Mm-hmm. I was a kid. You were 5 when you saw it. I don't know how old I was when I saw it for the first time. But you were 5 when you saw it. And I'm sure you weren't thinking about the socio-political implications of the Pride.
Yeah, I was thinking, man,
don't lie.
This would be a terrible society to be born a gazelle.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I am food merely because of how I was born.
It's part of the circle of life, okay, Jeremy? Don't mess with the circle of life. But it's kind of nice because now, especially with the political state we're in, and also like a lot of us who watch the 94 version are adults now and we get sociopolitical things. It's fun that we can take maybe some of that time away from big musical numbers and see like, oh man, like this is what happens when you have a corrupt leader in place and these are the implications of the decisions that Scar is making.
Right. The CW should send Kate Kanan to be Batwoman and
in the Pride Land?
Yes, and hold her social justice for everybody.
Do you think she'd still be Batwoman?
Maybe she'd be a bat.
Like a literal bat?
Yeah, like there are bats in Africa, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
So you had your Game of Thrones parallel here. Tell us about that.
Okay. This is my soapbox a little bit. From Game of Thrones. I love Ned Stark.
Who doesn't?
Oh my gosh, Ned Stark is my favorite person on Game of Thrones. I was so sad when he, was killed off in season 1. I'm sorry if that's a spoiler, but it's been out for a long time by now, and it's your responsibility as a Game of Thrones fan.
I have not seen Game of Thrones yet.
You're proud of that, so stop. So I noticed early on about Mufasa that he has this parallel with Ned Stark that I came to realize, and I'm really proud of formulating this trope, which is that he has this naivety in the way that the world runs. He's a very good person. He's a very just person. He's a strong leader, and he's a great role model, a person to lead, a person to look up to. But he's operating under the assumption that he is playing fair and that everyone else is too. And that's really where he gets got in the end, is because his enemy, his opponent, has used kind of a dirty trick, and the playing field was not level. And were the playing field level, then Mufasa would come out on top, Ned would come out on top, because they're good people who abide by the rules. But in this underhanded move that they were not anticipating, because they're feeling that everything is level, that their opponents are playing fair, that's where they meet their end.
So the moral of the story behind The Lion King is, don't ever play by the rules. Kids, it's a terrible... Just kidding. No. That's not what the story is about. That's just a terrible fact of life.
Be careful with the people in your lives.
Yes. I liked how, there were no perfect characters in this movie.
No, really, there weren't.
They were all broken in some way. They all had their strengths and their weaknesses.
Let's talk about Nala, though. She's probably the least broken, I would say. She's a really strong female leader.
She's really strong, but, she's definitely hurt from her past experiences.
Oh, yeah,
you can see how her past experiences are affecting her choices. She was, but she's strong because of those experiences.
Yes,
yeah. And, the choices she makes are strong and good ones. So, again, very dynamic. We're running short on time, so what else do we got? I like the fact that they showed the reason the Pride Lands were becoming desolate. In the 94 version, it just kind of happened. There's an evil king, and so naturally now there's no food.
Yeah. They show Scar ascending the throne, and then all of a sudden everything is desolate. They're like, right. Oh man, overnight, the grass, it's gone.
In this movie, they actually show you what happened, and they show you the hyenas chasing all the herds away, and they show you, them overeating.
Overhunting.
And they say over and over again, hyena bellies are never full.
And they also say about how Mufasa had such strict hunting rules, and Scar was upset about that. He was like, oh, the lions, we should be taking the lion's share, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And some nice socioeconomic playing again.
And we see why, why Mufasa had these regulations was because this very thing would happen. So you can clearly see that.
There's one more thing we got to touch on, because this has been a big buzz thing on the internet. And that is that ever since the first trailers for this movie aired, there have been some, you know who you are, who have stated their opinions that they don't feel emotionally connected to the characters because their lack of facial expressions. They look like real animals, so they're not making human facial expressions in the trailers. They're not.
How expressive is a real lion out in the wild?
Yeah, exactly. Well, as expressive as Jeremy Irons in The Lion King is. I would say, if that's what you're concerned about, rest easy, go see the movie. You will be, you'll enjoy it, because where they, if you spend any amount of time with animals, you'll know that animals are expressive in more than one way.
They really are.
They used a lot of body language in this film
and the context of the scenes as well, I would say, and the overarching storylines.
Yes. And cinematography, if you're concerned the music.
If you're concerned from the trailer about not being able to get the expressiveness, I think it's mainly because you don't have the context there.
Right.
Once you're watching the whole movie, you'll get it.
I'd say throughout the whole movie, I definitely felt the emotional weight of every scene, and I felt the emotion of the protagonist. I felt it as well as I saw it, and I experienced it, and I just thought Jon Favreau did a great job at making the animals feel like real animals, but also feel like real humans at the same time.
Yeah. But don't worry, John Oliver is great with the comedic timing. It's not all bogged down emotions. There's some great one-liners in there.
One more thing here with the female power dynamic. They changed one of the hyenas dramatically, and
for the betterment of the story, I believe.
Yes, and they made her the leader of the hyenas. Before, she was played by Whoopi Goldberg. Now she's played by one of T'Challa's most trusted guards. And I feel terrible because I can't think of her name off the top of my head. But it was more... She wasn't one of the clowns in this story. She wasn't one of the comedic characters at all. She was...
she was really fierce.
She was a bad guy.
She was a force to be reckoned with.
She was the leader of the hyenas, and she wasn't chummy with Scar. In fact, like, she was already in power, and the hyenas just Scar comes in and doesn't say, "Oh yeah, I know you." He comes in and says, "No, hey, you don't know me, but I can fix your problem." And this kind of led to a great conflict between Shanzi and Nala at the end.
Yep.
You just had this, like, girl fight, which has got to be in every movie now.
Every movie with VR CGI lions.
It worked, and I definitely appreciated the great work of this movie. And I think whether you've seen the 94 version or not, who's not seen the 94 version?
I want to see the hands raised. Who?
Oh, we can't see their hands.
I'm betting there's no hands anymore.
Okay, well, they can't see our hands, so they don't know who among us hasn't seen it.
Well, neither of us have our hands raised once again.
Great movie. Go see it. You'll appreciate it even if you haven't seen the original.
That's right.
If you've seen the original and you love it like we do, you're still going to appreciate this movie.
And if you see this movie and you think, maybe I should go see the original, I don't think it'll detract from your vision either way.
It's time for our Harry Potter thought of the day.
Dumbledore is not a good guy.
You just came out and said it.
Well, like I said in the last episode, this is my Harry Potter thought of the day, and I will not defend it. It's a statement that will stand alone, and I will not defend it because it would take an entire podcast to do just that.
No, but I expect to see this in the comment section.
Let's have a discussion.
Yes.
Speaking of Harry Potter, the way I got into Harry Potter is really funny. I went to a charter school, and they wanted to ban the books in our library. So they asked my mom to vote on the issue, and my mom said, well, I'm not going to vote on something that I don't know anything about. So she picked up the books, and we read them, and she said, what are you talking about? This is amazing, and voted against it. So that's how I got into Harry Potter, was because I potentially might not have ever gotten into it.
My story is the opposite. Well, it's similar because people were telling me to ban Harry Potter. I grew up in a very strict Christian homeschooled family, and I was the most strict 10-year-old you've ever met. I was more strict than my parents. I took it to the extreme. I saw it, and I did it, and I took it to the extreme. And my parents tried to bring Harry Potter, the book, home one day, and I banned it. I banned Harry Potter from my parents.
From your parents?
From my parents.
And so
for years, my parents never watched the movies. I think they made me listen to my dad read the book one time.
Was he a good narrator?
Oh, he's the best.
All right.
Just, I wasn't listening because it was Harry Potter. But, I mean, obviously I've grown out of that and I love it now. But the funny thing is as soon as I moved out, my family just binge watched all the movies.
And how long after that did you get into them?
Maybe 2-3 years.
And you finally accepted it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I read all the books and watched all the movies.
That's how we got into Harry Potter.
Yes. And now I'm sure our audience is awaiting the next chapter of
our line-by-line story, which is the fun and terrible time of Chester Dobby McMillan Skywalker. And, what is it?
His quest
to be a chef. That might not be the exact title, but that's what we're working with.
Now, where we left off was his father had...
Wait. The backstory.
The backstory is he has a great relationship with his stove. He has no friends, and his parents forgot his birthday party. But he has a relationship with his kitchen stove. And one day his dad comes in the door with a brand new kitchen stove, meaning it's probably time for the old one to be set out on the curb.
So, that's where we left off, which was that his dad had brought in the box with the new stove.
Without further ado, Lauren, would you lead us off?
I will. Chester watched his father bring the box in with horror in his eyes.
He immediately ran to the defense of his stove and spread his arms around it, shouting, "No, Daddy, no!"
Some onlookers might even say that the stove hugged him back. The door opened slightly against him, but that might be part of the defect that his father was trying to correct.
Confused, his dad asked Chester what the problem was.
Chester replied, "Dad, this stove is my only friend, and if you take it, I will never have another friend."
His dad said, "Take the stove? No, I'm just holding this here for a friend. They're moving next week."
Chester let out a sigh of relief, but he knew he had to take action in case his father ever did decide to bring in a new stove.
Just then, as Chester's arms were still wrapped around his beloved stove, the oven door fell off.
And knocked him onto the floor.
Chester's dad ran quickly to the stove.
And what he found befuddled him so greatly that he called for Chester's mother.
They found that the gas pipe was filled with avocados and bananas, and the stove wouldn't light anymore.
All right, that's where we'll leave it. We'll figure out how the stove and Chester get on in our next episode.
Are we just going to ignore the fact that they didn't say anything to Chester, who had just fell on the floor and hit his head?
I mean, it feels like a move that his parents would make. They forgot his birthday. I'm not surprised.
Oh, man, we are so terrible to Chester.
I mean, Chester, he's an underdog. He'll get his coming glory, I guess.
Yes. He'll get accepted into school for witchcraft and wizardry, and everything will be okay. Either that, or he'll meet an old man who will teach him how to be a space wizard.
Or we forget that he has dreams of becoming a chef.
Oh, yeah. He's kind of got to do that, too.
I don't even know how old Chester is. We'll answer all those questions and more.
What if he is the best culinary Jedi/starfighter?
You'll have to just wait and see.
The possibilities are out there, folks.
And we will see you next time, when you will be able to hear our origin story and find out why we're called Doughnut Revenge.
And find out why we are Nemesis.
Nemesis.
Nemesi?
This has been Doughnut Revenge.
Doughnut Revenge.